Okay, this is one I've had on the list for a long time, and with the Avengers 2 Age of Ultron trailer coming out, it would make sense to finally do Ultron Brainiac. Now, I'll be kind of taking the Brainiac version that Jeff Johns did, the one who more or less shows up on like the giant ship and is essentially attached to the ship. He was also the one used in the animated movie. When it comes to Ultron, I will be going with, he's known referred to as Lord Ultron. This is the one from Annihilation Conquest, who used the Phalanx to try to take over a sizable portion of the universe. So on one side I've got Brainiac, normally now referred to as the Collector of Worlds. Around that time, he did a pretty good job when it came to miniaturizing cities and gathering the knowledge of worlds before he destroyed them. Ultron. Depending on where you're reading him, he is a creation of Pym. He wanted to create a really fantastic sentient AI. He then made the smart move of putting that inside an adamantium shell and giving him essentially a molecular rearrangement for part of the processing unit to keep it fluid so his body could actually move. So on one side you've got essentially living Kryptonian AI, whose sole job is to gather information from the most intelligent individual in the universe, sometimes multiverse, versus essentially someone who decided to create the ultimate program, not knowing the ultimate program would soon kind of go, well, if you wanted me to be a level of perfection, technically you're an imperfect creator, so I should destroy you. And then of course, since Ultron is virtually indestructible, they constantly jazz him off into space. Which is not smart when you can take over other computers, which you did to the Phalanx. So, here we go. It's always a 9-criteria system. Intelligence, fighting ability, strength, speed, durability, and vulnerability, energy rejection, versatility, and X factor. If it's 6 to 3, the one with 6 more likely would win. 5 to 4, it's a much, much narrower range. So intelligence. I have to give this one to to Brainiac. Brainiac is normally considered to be a 12th and 13th level intellect, which normally, depending on the methodology, kind of means that all of the knowledge of a world is like, it's pretty high up there. He also has all the knowledge of multiple worlds. He likes to show up, destroy, he likes to show up, catalog all the information on the planet and then destroy it. So he's pretty much a walking universe of knowledge. That's a scary amount of knowledge to have for someone that more or less goes, you know what, I want to learn. I have learned from you. But my knowledge more impressive and more valuable, I need to destroy the knowledge base so that only I contain it. Fighting ability. And with this sort of Brainiac, he doesn't really need to fight. He's not a brawler. Ultron being a tremendous villain of the Avengers, is not afraid to get his hands dirty. He doesn't like to, but he's well aware of the fact that he is one of the most devastated individuals. Strength. Even though Brainiac has shown that he can go one-on-one with Superman pretty easily, he is still attached to a ship. I have to give the strength edge to Ultron. Probably thinking why. One of Ultron's biggest strength feats is he broke Hulk's leg. And Hulk's leg stayed broken for quite some time. That's impressive. That is impressive. He broke Hulk's leg. Think about that. Think about everyone that Hulk has fought. And no one has simply broken his leg and had taken quite some time to heal. That is the strength level Ultron has. Sure, that was like the Secret Wars. Jumping forward, Ultron is still a more powerful individual. You got a person who's taking on Superman as a primary villain versus someone who's taken on and fought the Avengers. Speed. Normally I give the speed edge to DC characters, however, this is the ship-bound Brainiac. So he's not really going to have any sort of advantage or any true maneuverability outside of the ship. The ship will give him a great amount of maneuverability, however, once you get on the inside, you're pretty much find the guy who is kind of stuck to a ship. Durability. This one's actually kind of bizarre. I'm going to give this one to Brainiac. Brainiac, while on the ship, heals almost instantaneously. So any damage is being done to him, he's recovering from as long as he's not removed from the ship. If he's removed from the ship, he will begin to deteriorate. However, he's got just this tremendous amount of recuperability as long as he is near any part of a ship. Probably thinking, well, does Ultron have great durability? Not really. Ultron has been defeated by somebody slamming him against a wall and kind of like messing up his CPU. Think about it kind of like in World War Hulk, where Hulk is fighting the X-Men. He grabs a hold of Wolverine. He pummels Wolverine so fast that Wolverine's brain bounces back and forth inside his adamantium skull, knocking him unconscious. Similar sort of thing you do with Brainiac. Invulnerability. Brainiac is walking adamantium. Period. If you want an individual who can take a tremendous beating, just stand there and tank shot after shot after shot, it is Ultron. If you can jostle them around a lot, normally you can do some damage. That's more has to do with the internals bouncing around on the inside. But beyond that, just a walking wall of adamantium. He is an impressive piece of equipment. Energy projection. Both these guys have concussive blasts. They do have a tremendous array of different sorts of technologies. However, I have to give the edge easily to Brainiac. Brainiac at this time, he's pretty much a glass cannon. He's got a tremendous amount when it comes to range abilities. We're talking super advanced technologies from multiple worlds. And he includes a lot of it. This is what allows him to pretty much fight somebody like Kryptonians. I do a pretty good job of almost kind of like, oh, you're in here. And blast. Knock you through a hole in the ship, prepare the ship, keep on going. Versatility. Again, I'm going to give this one to Brainiac. Why? Well, Brainiac has actually shown that he can do some really impressive things. I think the ability to shrink cities, because he wants to be able to use them as a knowledge base, as well as kind of collect them. Not to mention the telekinesis, the telepathy. You know, we're talking a whole host of psionic abilities beyond a whole host of technological abilities. That is a huge amount of technological advantages that Brainiac just brings with him. Either from his Kryptonian background, from his Kalu background, all the way up to all the other planets that he's absorbed, and all the information that he has. He's constantly upgrading his technology. You know, and he's just very, very high up there. And he's got so many tools at his disposal. Where Ultron is constantly upgrading, does a very good job, but Ultron is kind of more of a galactic conqueror, where he wants to control planets. Brainiac wants to, he's like a giant, he's a technological and a knowledge locust. He wants to show up, he wants to take all of your resources, and then just leave you a husk and go on. Now it comes down to X Factor. This big one for me came down to, you know, who do I think could hack who? And I had to look at, okay, Ultron hacked the Phalanx. Phalanx, very impressive. And he used that to take over a vast majority of the Marvel Cosmic Universe side. And I was like, that's an impressive feat. He took over essentially a species and went forward with it. And then I went, well, what's the biggest thing that Brainiac has done? For Brainiac and our worlds at war, the most impressive thing he decided to do was he took over Warworld and then decided to intervene and absorb the energy of, I'm probably going to butcher it, of Imperiax, and wanted to use that to go back to reignite the Big Bang and control all of existence. So I have one person who hacked a species, another person who hacked a technologically advanced world. And I was like, oh man, Phalanx, very much hive-minded. You know, if you could get into one, you could normally kind of go through the chain pretty quickly, versus Warworld. Massive technologically advanced, essentially Death Star-like planet. I was like, you know, I have to give the edge and hacking ability to Brainiac. A lot is because Brainiac has got a tremendous amount of more hacking knowledge. That's pretty much what he does. He shows up to a planet, he attacks it, takes the resources, hacks, gains a knowledge base, and goes forward. I think that these two guys were to face off. Since I'm looking at the Brainiac who is normally using a ship, it's going to put Ultron inside Brainiac's ship. And yes, Ultron is going to do a tremendous amount of damage while inside there, and his program's going to be constantly fighting a hack while trying to counter-hack at the same time. I just think that given the amount of time that Brainiac has been active, the amount of information Brainiac has gained during that time, and the fact that he's taken over technological worlds, that's just a huge amount of feat lists. That's going to probably allow him to take down Ultron almost by hacking into him. And he'll probably want to transfer his consciousness from the body that he has, which isn't very superior, into the superior frame that is Ultron.